Hi, everybody. Welcome to yet another home buyer seminar. Shannon and I are back. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Just a minute, though.
A month, maybe a minute.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. We also have a special guest today, Niki Krish. We're going to introduce her in a little bit. So what are we going to be talking about? Of course, we're going to be talking about buying a home in the Northeast Ohio area, specifically Cleveland.
I'm Shannon Anagnostopoulos. Just say it very slow. I'm a realtor on the Easy Sales team. I've been a realtor for almost 5 years. I love what I do and I love helping people.
So I'm Angela Moore. I joined the team last year and it has been a wild ride ever since the beginning. I work with investors, buyers, sellers, and renters. All right, so let's talk for a second about our app. If you are interested in buying a house or anything like that, we definitely recommend you download our app. You will get an email after this presentation, or you can shoot us a message and we'll be happy to send you an email that has all the information. But in it, you can actually get real-time information about your transaction. If you're buying or selling with us, you can see all kinds of information about the neighborhood and a whole lot of different information when it comes to different collections. There we go.
Congratulations. You've taken the first step in your home ownership journey. You're interested in buying a home. So that is the first step. Here are some things that we'll cover today.
So we're going to talk about fears versus facts about buying a home. When people think about buying a home, it's completely overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. So this is what we're here for today is we're going to educate you about the process and we're going to just kind of tell you the basic stuff of what to do. We're also going to talk about the realities of our market. Shannon and I are in this market. We're working on it. We're in the front lines every single day. So we can tell you what's actually going on as opposed to what's happening in the headlines.
Yeah, that's really important. There's 10 simple steps to homeownership. We're going to go over each one of them. And here are the next steps.
All right, so let's talk about fears versus facts. Number one, and this is the biggest fear that we hear. I can't afford to buy a home right now. Here's the fact. Until you do the math and you talk to a professional, you don't know what you can or can't afford. I don't know how many times I've gone out to showings and the buyer tells me I can afford this much. And then they go to a lender and lender goes, no, you can only afford half that much.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to know your numbers before you have any sense of what you're actually going to be working with.
Yeah. Well, another fear is I should wait until the market gets better. No, because hindsight is always 2020. We don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a bad time to buy if it's your situation. So we're going to educate you on your situation as well. Everybody is unique and an individual.
Exactly. Number three, I don't have the money for a down payment. So here's the fact. There are a variety of down payment options available to you. And we're going to talk about a couple of those, but that's a great conversation to have with your lender.
Yeah. Fear. I can't afford to buy a home because my credit isn't very good. There's always options. There's credit repair. You can talk, again, you have to talk to a lender to find out what your credit score really is. Credit Karma is not always accurate. So you want to find out, people have that myth that you have to have a 700 credit score to buy a home. No, it starts at 580. There are lenders that will do that. And we can talk to you about those options.
Number five, I can't afford to buy my dream home. Well, if you're going to buy $1 million home, you need to start somewhere if you don't own any real estate, because then what you end up doing is you buy the home, you invest in it, it appreciates in value, you sell it, you make a profit, you can invest in your next home, and that's how you build to your dream home.
Mm-hmm. Fear, I should wait until I'm certain about my domestic future. Fact, you don't have to wait until you're married, partnered, or ready to have children to buy a home. I have plenty of single people that do it, and it's pretty amazing when they do it. It's a great feeling to be a single person buying a home or a divorced person buying a home or whatever.
Completely. Number seven, buying a home seems overly complicated. Now, look, we're not going to lie to you and tell you that this is super easy and you're going to have, absolutely no problems. It's a complicated process and it can be hard, but that's why you get a trusted partner or trusted partners, plural, that are going to help you through the process. And we're going to talk to you about what kinds of partners that you should be looking for.
Yeah. Another fear is I should pay off my student loan debt before buying a home. Some people pay off their student debt in like 10 years. It takes forever. You don't have to pay off your student loan debt to buy a home. It's not figured in the same way that other debt is. So you can still afford it, even if you have student loan debt.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about why buying now. So first of all, let's talk about interest rates. Now, mortgage rates are still below the 30-year average, okay? Yes, they're higher than they were in 2020. However, they're not as crazy as they have been historically. We have to adjust to the market. We have to adjust to whatever the market is giving us. The next thing you have to understand is that your long-term investment grows as you build up the equity in your house and your home, and you enjoy the basically just the advancement of your investment. You're going to be able to pay down your debt, and that's going to build up your equity. So as you continue to pay on your house and you make your regular payments, your equity is increasing, which means that your investment is growing. And let's face it, you have a pride of home ownership. You have stability and security. There's a sense of community when you have roots and you really commit to a community. You have that sense of belonging and being a part of something. We also love all of the tax benefits, and of course, we're big believers in the fact that real estate is one of the best ways to build your wealth.
Absolutely. Owning versus renting. Purchase a home for $250 and pay $1,200 a month towards your mortgage. Now, these are estimates. Total over 30 years, you're going to pay $432,000, but you own an asset that's grown in value well over that amount. If you're going to rent, you're going to pay $1,200 per month towards your landlord's mortgage. You're going to be throwing that money away and you own nothing, zero. So do you want to own something or nothing, really?
Mm-hmm. And what if they sell the house?
Yeah.
And then you don't have a house because you can't rent it from them anymore. What if your rent goes up? So there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, we work with renters all the time, so we see it a lot.
Now, we're not the type of realtors who are like, you have to buy. If you don't buy now, you're crazy. There are certain situations that absolutely lend themselves to saying this is not a good time for you to buy. The number one thing is if you're changing jobs. If you don't have firm's job security, or you're about to start with a new company and you're not sure about the outlook, it might not be a good time to invest in a house. Another reason would be if your credit score, your down payment, like you just don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle. It might not be the right time to buy, but it could be a great time to talk to somebody to make a plan for when you're ready to buy. Another thing, too expensive. People are always buying the big flashy houses because they look great and that's what they really want. But at the end of the day, they're house poor because they're putting all of their money into their mortgage and they can't even afford the couch in the living room. The other thing is a short-term ownership. Okay. If you're only going to be in an area for like a year or two, probably doesn't make sense to buy and put down roots and have an asset that you then have to sell if you're going to be leaving the area. There's no equity and there's no appreciation. Buying a home is definitely a long-term game.
Yeah. So if you're thinking like 2 years or less, usually,
Mm-hmm.
just want to say if you're going to stay in an area 2 years or less is what I usually tell people.
Yep.
So realities of our market, and this is in Cuyahoga, Lorain, and Medina counties, the primary areas that we serve in.
Mm-hmm.
A 3-bedroom single family home, average price right now is $236, just over $236. Is it a buyer's market versus seller's market? It's pretty balanced depending on the city. So we have some crazy areas like Parma.
Mm-hmm.
What's another city that you would name? Berea. Really?
Oh, insanity.
Yeah, Parma's insane right now. That it's definitely a high seller's market. You have other areas where it's a buyer's market. So it just really depends. So that's why we say it's balanced. And interest rates are still low. You can always do a rate buy down. And we'll talk more about that later with our lender that's going to talk about stuff right now.
All right. So here are the 10 easy steps to home ownership, and we're going to go through each of these. So I'm not going to touch on all of them right now. You'll notice that there's no number 10. That's because we save it as a surprise at the end. But the number one thing that you do is you're going to decide to buy. So again, you're taking that first step. Home ownership lays the foundation for a life of financial security and personal choice. They love to say that money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure gives you options while you're trying to figure out what makes you happy.
Yeah. Understanding equity. On closing day, you begin to build your equity. Year 22, it's halfway paid off. Year 30, your home is paid off. In the beginning, you pay quite a bit of interest up front. So really, you don't have it halfway paid off to the year 22. Mm-hmm. But isn't that exciting when year 30 would come around? Or if you make an extra payment, you can pay it off sooner.
I've heard, and Niki may be able to either confirm this or not, but if you do one extra full payment a year, you can pay off your mortgage 7 years faster.
I've heard that too. Yeah. So
yeah.
Maybe you can give us some info on that. Yeah, exactly that number.
So step number 2, obviously one of the best parts of the whole process is to find your agent. Now, we recommend that you find your agent first. As your agent, what we do is we're going to educate you about the market. We're going to tell you what's actually happening as opposed to what all the headlines on Facebook and stuff are saying.
We want to analyze your wants and needs. I always ask, what's a want? and then what's a must, nice to have
Mhm.
thing. So we're going to go about that process and talk about things.
Need to have, nice to have.
Mhm.
We're going to steer you to homes that fit your criteria. So when you hire us, we're going to look at things like, now you said you wanted a finished basement and you just picked 3 houses, none of which even have a basement. Do you really want to do this? We're going to steer you in that direction because of the feedback that you give us.
Mhm. We're going to coordinate the work of other professionals. So we're going to coordinate with title. We're going to coordinate with the lender. If you have to have any repairs done, we're going to walk through the whole process and all that stuff.
We negotiate on your behalf. I have absolutely no problem asking for crazy things in a deal simply to see what can happen, because I believe that if you don't ask, you never know. So we do the negotiation for you. We're trained to do it. A lot of us take additional training to make sure that we are on the top of our game, and that's our role.
We have one of the best negotiators on our team.
100%.
Yeah. We solve any problems that may arise. You might not think about it, but you think, oh, I put an offer on a house, it's accepted, now we just move in. No, there's things that come up in between, and that's the hardest part of our job sometimes, is working through those problems.
All right. So when do you hire your agent? Well, we recommend to hire your agent first. It should be one of the first things that you do. The other option would be to get your finances in order, talk to a lending professional, and then come to an agent. It's really up to you. The sooner your agent is involved, though, the better.
Yeah. Lenders can recommend agents can recommend lenders. So it's a, twofold process where you want to work with somebody that you trust on either side.
So depending on if you start working with an agent first or you work with a lender first, then we go through the pre-approval process. We start looking, which is always the fun part because you start to dream and you start to get excited. After that, we go under contract when they accept an offer. And then you take ownership and close, you move into your home, and then you have that last lease payment. You don't have to do any more lease payments. And now you're actually a homeowner.
Your agent's team. So there's lots of people that work with us. You have your agent, your buyer's agent, which is us in this case, your seller's agent, the lender, which is your bank, the appraiser, the inspector, contractors for stuff that has to be done, a closing coordinator, which sometimes we do that as well. We have people on our team to help us, and the escrow officer that works with the title company. So there's a lot of people involved on our team. And
we're going to talk a little bit about some of these so that you kind of understand how they fit into the whole process.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Niki's favorite topic now. So we're going to talk about selecting your lender. Niki Krish is with Brooker Mortgage. I personally have done a couple of deals with her. I'm working on a couple of deals with her right now. So I thought she would be a great fit. So Niki, why don't you go ahead and jump in? I know this is the overview slide, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
Yep. So just want to introduce myself real fast. My name again is Niki Krish. I work with Brooker Mortgage. We are actually a mortgage broker. So the nice thing about that, it means that I've got a few different lenders that I work with specifically. So I'm able to kind of gear programs based on what my clients are needing. But I'm going to go through just a few little things, try to make the home buying process a little less scary for you, and try to walk everything down here. So if you want to go ahead and hit that button for me. All right. So one of the first steps, once you pick an area and you kind of know your price range on where you want to be at, when you sit down to talk to a lender, you're going to want to identify your budget. And again, one of those big things are identifying your expenses, but it's not just what your monthly bills are. You also want to take a look at, what do you like to do? You want to make sure that you have that monthly amount left over to, as they said earlier, not be house poor and still be able to go out and enjoy yourself. So that way you can really take all of the benefits of home ownership. So you're going to end up being able to talk to your lender and determine what amount you can comfortably be able to say, this is what I'm comfortable setting aside. This is what I'd like to have maybe for repairs or anything that you want, and be able to actually even sometimes figure out a plan for establishing savings too. So being able to make some simple changes in how you are planning your budget can make a huge difference on what you're able to afford and what you just end up being more comfortable with. All right, so going with your taking a look at what lender you want, there are a few different options. It's always good to be able to ask for referrals, because if you have somebody that went through this process and they had a fantastic experience and they're able to recommend somebody to you, that's astounding. You want to be able to really connect with your lender because they get down into a lot of things. It's not, you have to let them know about everything. So that way they make sure all of their information is correct, because our main goal is to get you to the closing table. So we need to know everything that's kind of going on. So you want to be with somebody that you're very, very comfortable with. That's the number one thing. Super simple at that point. You go ahead and figure out who you click with, and then we'll get you a loan application. We can get you pre-approved for some things and go over a couple of different loan options that would be available to you based on what your circumstances are. All right, so one of the things that you're going to talk about is the amount of the down payment. So there's a few different types of there's tons of programs actually. There's programs on top of programs, and there are new ones coming out all the time. Yeah. You can honestly have a lot of down payment assistance. You can end up having different amounts for not having extra insurance on it. So you're going to want to know what's going to be your ultimate percentage on how much you need for a down payment based on the loan size that you want. Also, we can also take a look at fixed rate versus variable rates. Honestly, right now with the way that the market is, it's a lot better to just have that fixed rate. Unless for some reason, I've had clients that they're saying, you know what, they're only planning on staying for a little bit and they'd rather take a lower rate and end up selling in a few years anyway. So that's always an option. It's nice to take a look at everything, and you want to have a lender that's going to walk you through all of those options. You are going to be the one that's going to be able to make the decisions on that. Okay, so the difference between being pre-approved and pre-qualified, this is actually huge. Because you'll have people that'll say, oh, I've got pre-approval or I've got pre-qualified. You want to have everything verified. If you don't want to have somebody tell you that you can get this type of a mortgage with this amount, and then as soon as they get all of your income documentations and everything, they find out that, you know, there's a certain qualifying factor that isn't hit. You want to know that when you are submitting that offer, that there isn't going to be any hiccups when it comes to that. So that is huge. So one of the things you want to make sure that you have a formal application that does include getting your credit pulled. You don't want to go off of what they say their credit is based off of Credit Karma or anything. It needs to be a recent credit pull that we can go ahead and make sure everything is there. And that's for your protection too, to make sure that we're able to close on time for you. You want to make sure that you're able to turn in your income, assets, and for that, you can have your 401ks, you can have, I've even had people have life insurance stuff that comes through. If there is an account and be able to have that listed as an asset, it makes your profile so much stronger, so much stronger. So all of the information regarding assets is huge. Then we'll go ahead and figure out what your maximum purchase price is based on the discussion we'll have with you where you want your payment to be comfortably and what you can afford. And then we'll go ahead and issue that pre-approval letter. Now, the pre-approval letter is the huge thing. You want to make sure you have that pre-approval letter. When you're looking at houses, you're like, this is it. This is the house that I want. I love this one. You're going to submit that pre-approval letter with your offer, which is huge. A buyer or a seller is going to look at that and say, okay, this one means business. So that's a big, big difference there.
Yeah. And a lot of times we won't even submit offers if you don't have a pre-approval letter.
No, I won't do it.
So once you go ahead, you found the house, everything's awesome. You got your pre-approval letter, you submit it on in, they come back and they say, yes, they accept your offer. That's when we really get into the nitty-gritty with everything. That contract will be sent over to us. we're going to pull everything up. We'll get the final numbers based on where the property is, those property taxes, your homeowner's insurance. How much is your homeowner's insurance going to be? Things that people just don't think about. We make sure all of that is set up and goes into everything for you, and make sure that we have that date that we want to close by. What do we need all in line to be able to hit that date for you so you guys can get those keys?
Yeah, and that's very important when working with your lender, to make sure that, you know, we're communicating and we're talking about the date and we have everything lined up.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Niki has already thrown some amazing knowledge out there. And one of the other things that we just want to highlight is it's important to pick a lender who works well with agents, who works well with just other professionals in general, and who has that communication piece. It's really important.
Yeah, one of the main factors here is just being able to communicate everything back and forth, because if the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, it can get very, very confusing and frustrating for the buyer then, because they don't want to be left in the dark either. They want to know what's going on. So once you go ahead and get the contract submitted over to your lender, they're going to go ahead and get an appraisal ordered for you. Now, we don't have any contact with the appraiser for obvious reasons. They want a complete non-biased number given. So we don't have any contact with them. And that's to protect the buyer. So they don't want you to end up overpaying and being underwater in that mortgage, which is huge. And obviously the lender needs some protection too. They're going to give you that money. They want to make sure that the house is worth that. So that's an important factor. And then we're going to also order title. So title work is basically for them to be able to make sure that everything's cleared. There's nothing on it that's going to come back after 2 years from now. You decide to sell that house 10 years from now, and you find out this other person had ownership in your house, and now you don't have anything to hold you to it. So that is a huge, big piece to make sure that title, that they have the legal rights to be able to sell that property to you. All right, so now once you get the clear to close, all right, so we'll go ahead, get all of the information. Sometimes there's a few things that we might need. Actually, usually there's a few things, but don't be worried about that. That is a normal process. They like to double check everything, especially when it comes to income and stuff that's coming into your accounts. So you'll usually get a list right at the end with only a few things. It's not too scary. And your lender will go ahead and walk you through what needs to be done. And we'll be able to go ahead and issue that official, everything is clear to close. Yes, hopefully it is, 2 weeks before your estimated closing date. And that way, everything is perfectly in line. You can seal up that last box, and we can go ahead and get everything scheduled to get signed up and transferred over for you. All right, so I like to go over this. I actually had a new first-time home buyer, and they didn't even realize, even though I had told them the property taxes are wrapped into there, she was still trying to pay her property taxes. So we like to call this, it's called the PITI, okay? Your principal, interest, your taxes, and insurance. If you escrow, okay, if you set up escrow, that means your taxes, your property taxes, and your homeowner's insurance are rolled into your monthly payment for you. So you don't have to worry about it. It's already taken care of by your lender. A little bit of that payment every month goes into an account. When the bills are due, they're paid. Easy peasy. Don't even have to worry about it. That's a really big thing to have that type of security, that you don't have to worry about it. And they will do assessments for you if the taxes have changed at all, and let you know and be able to make adjustments so they're taken care of and they're on time. All right, so there are a few down payment assistance programs. Honestly, this is going to be really based off of each individual. And this is another reason why it's so important to be able to talk to a lender that you're very comfortable with. Because if there's a program that's going to be a better fit for you, they need to know what's going on. There is stuff that you can have get part of your down payment sent back to you. You can go all the way down to a 3.5%. There's actually a few other programs that are available. They've got conventional loans. They've got FHA programs. Both are fantastic. There are so many different options. This really is something for you to sit down and talk to a lender. They're going to be able to build that program specifically for you, find out what is going to be the best fit for you, because a mortgage is not a one size fits all. It really, really isn't. It is so important to make sure that you're working with everybody. And then that way, when you're ready to sit down, you'll be able to tell them, where are your funds coming? You know, you can actually have a gift for your down payment. Some people actually have stuff being sent over to them. You can have a gift. Do you have something set up in your savings account? You know, there does have to be a money trail. You can't have the mattress just sitting, you know, in the back with a stack of cash under it. But, you know, there's a lot of ways around it, and a lot of ways to be able to make sure that you're able to achieve that home ownership dream and be able to close on time.
And if you do have a bunch of cash stuffed under your mattress, talk to your lending professional so they can tell you how to handle it. Because
yes, very true.
You won't say you can't use that money. She'll say, this is what I need you to do. And then
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and no cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Use cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin, not going to work.
Not
right?
going to work. Not going to work.
So another big thing is you want to be able to maintain your pre-approval status. And that means once you get that pre-approval and you're looking, do not be going out and buying new furniture and jacking up the credit cards and buying new cars and taking out this loans. Do not do that. No, no, no. You want to leave everything just as it is, because you will end up having your credit looked at again. A lot of people don't know that. Just before closing, they'll go ahead and re-pull anything up. And if anything major has changed, they will ask you about it. And there has been times when something came up, or they decided to co-sign for somebody for a car and didn't even realize how that affected them, and they were no longer eligible for the loan. So you want to make sure that, you know, you have everything in line and leave it alone. Just let it be. And if you have any questions and you're not sure, ask your lender.
Yes.
Ask them. Just ask them.
Ask us, because when in doubt, you have to ask somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, when I was buying a house one time, I ended up having a job change and I kind of freaked out about it, but talked to the lender. They told me exactly how to manage it. And then when my partner at the time, he was about to have a job change, they're like, no, you have to wait.
Yeah.
But talk to the lender, because they'll talk you through it. They're not, you know, they're humans.
Yeah.
We're here to help you out.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Niki. All of that was amazing. We're going to keep moving on into the wonderful 10 steps of buying a home. And we're going to talk about step number 4, which is identifying your criteria. So this is the part that we love. I mean, we love really everything about buying a home,
we wouldn't do this if we didn't love it.
No, we didn't love it. But there's a lot of different things that have to kind of go through your head in terms of what you're actually looking for in a house. So how much space do you need? How much space do you want? How much space absolutely you have to have? Going back to that whole need to have, nice to have conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What about new construction? What about a townhome? What about a condo? What are some of the amenities that I absolutely have to have in my house? Do I want to fix her up, or do I need something that's completely ready? So there's a million questions, but your agent should be guiding you through this process and asking you very pointed questions. I usually spend the first 2 or 3 showings with a new buyer going through and saying, okay, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are able to kind of build it, because when you first ask, they're like, oh, I want 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and a 2-car garage. And I'm like, what else? Like, there's more to a house than that. So as your realtor gets to know you, they should get to know your criteria and what you're looking for.
Yeah. And I feel like if you have the type of home that you want in your mind, you're picturing it in your mind, I feel sounds a little woo-woo, but I feel like it comes to you faster because you're picturing it, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, and you're going to find that home faster, because you're
100%.
you're not even going to look at the ones that don't fit your criteria at all.
100%.
If you're like, I really do need a fenced in yard, you're going to move on from the ones that aren't fenced in. So step 5 is when you find your home, this is the process. Must-haves versus wants. Check out homes that match your criteria. Don't waste your time looking at ones. Like the first time you go out, you might say, well, I'm not sure about this. So we usually will look at it to see if that's something that you really need or not. And then we kind of have a discussion. Determine which houses you want to see. And then you decide to make an offer if you find the house that's the one.
So when we're going through the house, we're having a very different conversation with ourselves in our head than you're probably having as you're going through the house. So you're going to go through it and you're going to go, can I picture myself here? Does this fit my lifestyle? Does this location work for me? Does this work for my kids? You know, we're going through it. We're going, okay, how does the size and layout compare to the house next door and the house across the street that we know just sold for X amount of money and it took X amount of days on the market? How is the value in this neighborhood? Is it an appreciation neighborhood? Are we seeing the home values go up so that this is a good investment for you? Do we see any signs of like major maintenance or structural concerns? You know, we're the ones down in the basement with the flashlights going, does that look like a crack? I don't know. That might be a crack. So we wanted to make sure that you have the most sound possible investment when you buy a home. And so this is a whole process that goes through our head as we do that.
And that's part of what we're here for.
Absolutely.
Condo or townhome. This is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Pro of it is lower cost per square foot, no yard maintenance. They might have a swimming pool that you don't have to pay for and you don't have to maintain, and you're in a community. Cons of it are shared ownership. So you have somebody that shares a wall with you. You own the space inside the building, but not the outside of the building. You have, maintenance fees and stuff like that. You're managed by a board of directors. So you're told what to do and what you can't do, like what color you can paint the shutters, which came up in an HOA for someone that I had. And you have rules around pets and vehicles and noise, but some people like that as well.
Yes. And again, these are all conversations that you need to have with your realtor. If you are saying, I don't want to be in a neighborhood with an HOA, but I'll look at condos, I don't know that that's really going to be a good fit for you because HOAs operate the same way that HOAs do. So have those conversations with your realtor so that they can guide you through it. Now, what about new construction? I personally have built a new house. It can be a lot of fun. Everything was brand new. You have warranties on everything. You get to pick your lot. It's fun when you get to pick your features and which design you want, what floor plan. You can lock in the price. And then there's a lot of builders, especially right now, there are some seriously good deals happening right now with new builders.
Yeah.
And if you want to know about any of those, reach out to us separately because we have partners in the new construction area and there's a lot happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the same time, there's some cons. If you want to upgrade those cabinets to the nice shaker cabinets, it's going to cost you more. You might not know about the neighborhood. If it's brand new, if you're the third house in the neighborhood, you don't really know how that neighborhood's going to be. If you're in an outlying area, that might not be exactly ideal for you. You might not have the playground built yet, or the pool, or the clubhouse, or whatever they're promising. And you might not have a firm closing date. So a lot of builders have it down to a science, how long it takes them to build a house. We knew within 7 days when our house was going to be built, and we built through the winter. So to build through the winter and Ohio weather and everything else, for them to nail it like that was really impressive. But it's not always guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, step 6, make an offer. This is one of the harder parts, but this is what we're here to walk you through.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about price. The offer must reflect true market value of the home. Or if you're in multiples, you're going to talk about, okay, this one had 5 offers and went for this price. Let's see what we really need to offer to get the home.
Mm-hmm.
Terms, 6 basic categories addressing timing and financial considerations.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to do an inspection? When is your appraisal period going to be? What types of inspections are you going to do? When are you going to close? Are you going to give them a rent back? Are you going to get possession? Stuff like that. And contingencies, again, that's contingencies that allow you to opt out of a deal if the home has a problem. So an inspection contingency is one of the biggest contingencies, I think. I never, ever tell anybody to waive an inspection. I believe it's an important part of the process. And there's other ways to make a deal or an offer more valuable for a seller other than just waiving the inspection. So
yeah, it's not just about price.
Right.
So we are the type of realtors that only in very, 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 very specific circumstances, we are always going to tell you to get an inspection because it's just the smart thing to do. Have the inspection done. A, it gives you a little bit of peace of mind. B, when you're there and the inspector goes through it with you, it's like an education on your house.
Yeah.
So single ladies, when you buy a house, go to the inspection because they'll tell you how to change your air filter. They'll show you how to turn off your water. They'll show you all of that stuff. So due diligence is this period right after you've had an offer accepted where you're going to just do all your homework and make sure that everything is good with the house and it really is as good of a deal as you think.
Yeah.
So typically it's 7 to 10 days after the offer, and it usually involves a property inspection. What type of inspection you do is up to you. Most people just do a general home inspection, but you can have a septic inspection. You can have a structural inspection. You can have pest inspection. You can have mold inspection. You can have all these different types of inspections. It's really up to you. At a bare minimum, we always recommend doing the general home.
Repairs and renegotiation. So this is part of what we do as realtors. This is huge as well.
Mhm.
The big stuff that matters: cracks or crumbling in the foundation, cracks inside the house over windows. That could be a structural problem.
Mhm.
Water stains in the ceilings, floors, or walls. And a lot of our inspectors will have infrared cameras and moisture meters to go over that. So I had a client recently where they had 3 spots in a ceiling and water stains. There was no moisture, and it wasn't on the moisture meter or the infrared camera. It was an old leak that had dried up,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
totally fine. But then there was another leak around a toilet that was active and we couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So really, it's important. Faded or worn shingles,
Mm.
plumbing or electrical problems, and mold or termite issues. So in your general inspection, they'll always say, hey, this might be a problem. You might want to get this checked out. We always have that option to do other inspections if you want. I always leave that open in my negotiations. I think you do too, where
Yeah.
you select the other in case something else comes up in your general.
Mhm.
You can have that checked out as well.
Yeah.
My general inspectors usually can do a termite or pest inspection.
Yep.
At the same time, if you need that done. It's not a separate person. So
Yeah.
and some of the inspectors are a la carte where they can do add-ons like the
Yep.
moisture meter and the infrared camera. That's an add-on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And when you get your inspection report, they're going to give you a list in like green, yellow, and red. So your green items, those are good to go. You're in good shape, really no concerns. Your yellow ones, start of a problem. So you might just want to keep an eye on it, might want to do some preventative maintenance. Your red problems are generally health and safety concerns. So those are the big ones that you want to get addressed. And those are the ones that you want to get addressed in the renegotiation. You don't want to ask for, well, I need you to replace all the outlets into GFC outlets. Well, do we really need to do that? So we'll talk you through that process and we'll tell you what your options are.
Mm-hmm. Step 8 is closing time.
Yay. Keep yourself mortgage. We blacked ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah.
Worthy.
Yeah. So you want to keep yourself mortgage worthy. You want to make sure that you can get that mortgage at the very end. You don't want to screw up and mess it up.
Mhm.
So you're going to budget for additional expenses. Closing costs are 2 to 3% of the loan amount. Now your lender and also title and us can talk to you about your closing costs, what they're going to be. They can usually give you an estimate pretty far in advance.
Mhm.
Your earnest money is 1% of the purchase price. Really, it depends.
Usually.
It depends on what you're offering.
Mhm.
That's part of the offer process. Is I actually to be competitive in a bidding war with the seller's market, I try to do the earnest money as more. I do
Mhm.
about 3 to 5%,
Yep.
depending. Your inspection is going to be $300 to $600, depending on who you choose and what you do. Your appraisal is about $400. That can vary as well, depending on the lender and how much they charge. So the appraisal fee comes from the lender.
Mhm.
You have to prepay 1 year of homeowner's insurance. So that is put into your mortgage escrow account, and then that's prepaid. Home warranty. If you want a home warranty, it's $499 for a single family home. Sometimes you can get the seller to pay for it. Sometimes you have to pay for it. So it just depends on what you want to do. I usually recommend a home warranty for a first time buyer because it's just peace of mind. And you're not going to have to ask Uncle Bob to come over and fix the furnace when Uncle Bob's busy or you pissed him off and you're not friends anymore. So
Totally happens.
yeah, it totally happens. And it reserves for improvements and repairs after the sale. So emergency money. So you want to have some emergency money in mind. That's why there are home buyer down payment programs.
Yep.
Because it is important to have some emergency money just as a regular homeowner.
Yeah, you don't want to spend every single penny you have ever saved up on your down payment, because then you don't have any money to move in and buy the stuff from Target and do the paint and do all the little things that you want to do to make the home your own.
Yeah. And then you're going to do a final walkthrough of the home, usually 3 days before. It says on or before. So if that date doesn't exactly work out, we can do it. But you always want to do a walkthrough just to make sure everything is as it was when you offered on it.
There you go. So as closing day approaches, your lender like Niki and your agent like us, we're going to do most of the work. We're the ones communicating behind the scenes. We're putting out fires that you don't even know exist because that's what we do. But in order for you to make sure that this is as smooth of a process as possible, number one, stay in control of your finances. So again, as tempting as it is, don't go buy the house full of furniture until after close, and then you can go nuts. right? Just wait until we get that closing. Return all phone calls and paperwork promptly. You know, Nikki and her team, they're going to send out requests for information from you. I need this bank statement. I need this letter. I need this form. Get it back to her as quickly as possible. I know Nikki and I just had a deal where we were able to close we had the option to close 8 days early because the client was so responsive in getting the information to her. You want to make sure that you're communicating with your agent at least once a week. If your agent's not reaching out to you at least once a week during this process, reach out to them because they really need to have that.
But they become my BFFs usually.
Completely.
I'm like texting with them every other day minimum usually because
Completely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we talk to you a lot.
Yeah.
I do anyway.
Yeah. And then we're totally ready for the housewarming party invitation after that. Now, several days before closing, you're going to confirm with your agent that all your documentation is in place and in order. And what we do is we check with title, we check with the lender, we check with the appraiser, like we check with everybody. Do you have everything you need? Are we good to go? Okay, we're ready to move forward. Then you need to obtain your certified funds for closing. This is something your lender tells you. It gives you very specific instructions. This is what I need you to do. And then we do that final walkthrough that Shannon mentioned, and then it's closing time.
So at your close, you're going to bring your certified funds, your evidence of your insurance, your homeowner's insurance, and your ID. And then you're going to get your settlement statement, your transfer of clean title, and the keys. Key day is my favorite.
It's the best day.
Yeah.
You're going to sign a stack of papers that's about this thick, and you're going to have a cramp in your hand by the time you're done, but you're going to walk out of there a homeowner, which is amazing. So step 9, you're going to move in and protect your investment. So what are we talking about when you mean, protect your investment? Well, number one, you want to maintain it. So perform routine maintenance on your home systems. And every home is different, but especially on depending on their age and style, you're going to have different types of maintenance that are required for your home. You're going to keep an eye on certain things. You want to watch for signs that if you see a sign of leak or water damage or any kind of wear and tear that's happening, you might want to address it. Keep small problems small before they become really big problems because it's no fun. We always recommend that you keep a file of receipts for your repairs. And in fact, I just had an instance where one of my buyers bought a home, he moved in, and as a gift, the seller left the entire accordion file that has all of their receipts in it.
Yeah.
So they have the history of the entire house.
Which is kind of amazing. So
Completely.
I've had that happen where there's a drawer full of warranties. And
Exactly.
you're like, "Oh, great."
Exactly. And then you can also consider a home warranty like Shannon was talking about. That's a really good option, especially if you're just not 100% sure or if you're not 100% comfortable with home ownership.
Step 10, enjoy service for a lifetime. So we're here not only to help you through the process, but we're here to, help you along the way of home ownership. We both owned homes. We own homes now.
Mm-hmm.
We're experienced in that realm. I have clients that call me all the time after and they're like, hey, what do we do about this? Or, hey, I need a HVAC guy. And we know people. So I don't know that if you know, but I've started my 5-star referral program.
Yeah.
So if anybody needs anything, I have a running list of people that I recommend with some extra information on it. And I give that to clients. So that's just a service that I offer for being my new best friend. So you're stuck with me for life. But our commitment to you is that we're going to educate you about the market and we talk about your wants and needs. We coordinate all the other stuff. We negotiate for you. That's our job.
Mm-hmm.
We check and double check paperwork because there's something that needs to be signed, and we tackle problems that may come about. I mean, there's always going to be something. So we're here to fix that for you.
So here's our contact information. You can reach me by phone. I do phone and text. You can also reach me by email. Same with Shannon. Honestly, we'll talk real estate pretty much anytime. Niki also had her information earlier, but we will be emailing that out to anybody who would like it, so we can get some solid referrals going. So thank you so much for everybody who joined with us today, for all the people who sent in questions and all that good stuff. We're going to be back again next month. So I don't know, enjoy the day.
Yeah, it's great outside. Thanks, Niki.
Thanks, Niki. All right, how do I stop recording? There it goes.